Welcome back to Building the Franchise with the New England Patriots, and believe it or not, we are already on episode number 15. And if you'll remember from the end of the last episode, I let you guys know that there are some changes, some new and exciting graphics and different things that are coming to this series, so make sure you stay tuned for the most in-depth show on the MBL network.
You're watching Building the Franchise with the New England Patriots, only on the MBL network.
So for our Week 1 matchup, we bring the New York Jets into town. The beginning of this year's schedule has a lot of division games. We knock out almost all of our division games before we even hit Week 8 this year. So that's something that's going to be super important for us, is to take advantage of that little run there and try to get a lead in the division early. So coming into the regular season, Boger comes in and he's actually the number 2 wide receiver already, just based off what we've seen during training camp and the preseason. And Szott comes in against these Jets and he does not have a great game. He throws less than 50% for just over 100 yards, throws 2 interceptions and no touchdowns. And Boger was completely shut out during this game. He didn't get a single catch, which is something that we're definitely looking to change up and take advantage of his skill set in the second week. The biggest issue in this game, though, seemed to come from the offensive line. The offensive line let the defense get to Szott 4 times. They got 4 sacks on him, 3 of which came from Rashawn Charlton. He led up 3 sacks during this game. And we brought him in during the offseason, so obviously it's not what we brought him in for. But if you'll remember, we also drafted the rookie Parker Nolan in the 3rd round. So we're probably going to give him a shot in the next couple weeks if Charlton can't turn it around. And after all of the offensive line struggles, we end up losing this game 20-7 for the first week of the season. In week 2, we head down to Miami to take on the 1-0 Dolphins. Again, we're coming in at 0-1, and it was a division loss, so we're definitely going to be trying our best to win this game to try to at least tie the division up at the top. And one of the first things that we did to try to get the win against the Dolphins was we did take out Charlton and put the rookie Nolan in at right tackle. We also made it a focus during the practice this week to try to give Boger the ball and get him in the game plan a little more. One of the things that the coaches and Tom Brady, the quarterback's coach, was letting Szott know was that the more you get the ball to the rookie, the more pressure that's going to take off Braxton Miller, who's a proven receiver on the team. You know, he's the number 1, so they let him know that the more you pass to other people and the more you try to open up the passing game, the better it's going to be for the whole team, because everyone's not focused on Braxton Miller. Hedrick also made it a point to make sure he let his offensive coordinator know that he needed to mix it up a little bit more. During the last game, really the only thing the Patriots did was throw the ball, and that kind of took the rookie out of rhythm, especially, since he's still learning the MBL defenses and he's still learning some of the offensive plays and schemes and stuff like that. So it really helped him out as far as finding the receivers and not worrying about pushing the ball downfield so much. But not only that, it allowed DeMarcus McKnight a chance to show what he's able to do. I mean, we've seen it before, the league's seen it before, and McKnight just kind of exploded in this game. He did have 104 yards and a touchdown in this game, which is way better than he'd done in the game against the Jets. One of the biggest takeaways in this game, though, was that Szott learned very quickly. The offensive coordinators and coaches were telling him, all week, make sure you're throwing to other people, make sure you're targeting other people. And he did. He targeted all over the field. He hit tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. He hit Boger in this game 3 times for 39 yards and a touchdown. So it really took the pressure off of Braxton Miller, who finished the game with 80 yards and a touchdown on 4 receptions. So it allowed the whole team to kind of have a little bit more diversity and keep the defense off balance. So one of the big things that I'm bringing to the series here, and one of the things that I'm most excited about myself, is basically player of the game. It's something we're going to do after each and every game, and I'm going to show you guys, their stats and what they've done and how they contributed to the game if we didn't talk about it during the highlights. And with that, with this game in week 2 against the Dolphins, we already talked about Steven Szott and what he done throughout this game. But one thing that I didn't touch on for you is Eric Berry. He came in this game. He was a free agent pickup in last offseason, and he came in against these Dolphins, and he really had their number. He had 2 interceptions, one off of a short route and one that was a little deeper down the field off of a bobbled pass. And he also forced a fumble at about the 50-yard line that really turned the tide on the game and helped us secure the 26-20 victory against the Dolphins. For our Week 3 matchup, we bring in the 1-1 division rival Buffalo Bills, who are coming off of a slaughtering they took from the Dolphins in Week 1, a 41-17 loss, and a 38-14 win against the Broncos in Week 2. This team's gonna, be looking to continue their win streak, especially against us in the division. So, as always, they're gonna be somebody that we need to watch out for. So with the Bills having such an up and down season so far, it's kind of hard to tell where they sit. They didn't finish with a great record last year. They were a little better than us, but it still wasn't very great. But they also got a rookie, Keyshawn Morton, out of Notre Dame, a halfback, who is extremely explosive. He's a player that was actually on our own draft board, and had he fallen to us in the second round, which we didn't think he would, but we had to at least put him on there and give a little hope that everyone else would overlook him. But the Bills didn't overlook him. They selected him with the 11th pick in the first round, and he's a guy who's came in so far in the MBL and started to make a name for himself. In Week 2 against the Broncos, he went in that game and he had 20 attempts for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's a guy who, he didn't really have a great game the first week against the Dolphins, but they didn't play him enough. And when they put him in as the starting halfback, he blew it away. He, compared to the rest of the Bills team and compared to what the Bills have been known for in the past couple years, Keyshawn Morton is an extremely needed piece for their offense, and it's somebody who we definitely had to game plan against during our practices this week. We couldn't just overlook him just because he's a rookie. And while we didn't quite let him run all over us like the Broncos did, he had 10 attempts on the day. 9 of his attempts went for only 28 yards, but he did have this attempt right here, which was a 71-yard touchdown, which really deflated our defense and allowed the Bills to come out on top in this game, 28-17, handing us our second loss on the season and putting us farther behind the division race. So for our players of the game for Week 3, we had Braxton Miller on the offensive side of the ball, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Now, Cortez Boger did have more yards. He had 6 receptions as well for 136 yards, but he failed to find the end zone, which kind of gave Braxton Miller the nudge as far as the player of the game. And Cravens, he came in and he had 2 interceptions on the day. Now, I didn't really mention it over the last 2 weeks, but he's had at least 1 interception in each of the games so far this year. And he's a player who's really came into his own after the trade from Washington a couple years ago. And he's really become a leader on the defense and somebody who makes all the adjustments pre-snap and lets the defense know where they're supposed to be. And so far, he's been a pretty valuable asset, even to people like Eric Berry, who came into the team as a veteran, but they still got to learn the new defense and the way that the Patriots and Hedrick runs the defense. So Craven's really been the rock of the defense so far this year. For Week 5, we took on the Denver Broncos. They're sitting at 1-3. We already had our bye week at Week 4, so we're coming in at 1-2. And this game was on MBL Live. I'm not going to take away from the commentary of the broadcasting team, so I'm just going to show you a few highlights from the game, but I want you to head over to the game and actually check it all out. Watch the game in its entirety and see exactly how crazy the finish was. I won't really give anything other than that, but just go check it out and see how the game ended up in Week 5. The players of the game, however, against the Denver Broncos were Cortez Boger with 7 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown, and Darian Bingham with 2 tackles and a sack. Boger, this is the first time as the player of the game. It's only the 4th game of the season, and he's really made an impact so far. So he may be looking for an expanded role, more than the number 2 receiver as we move forward this season. And Bingham is having another solid year. Even though he's the second middle linebacker, he plays a lot in relief for Cravens. So it's good to have two good middle linebackers on the team. In Week 6, we head back down to Florida to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are coming into the game at 1-4. Coming into this game, the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars was none other than Jimmy Garoppolo, who lost his job to Nick Delring a few seasons ago. And Garoppolo came in this game, had 2 fumbles, both that were scooped and scored by our defense, so he was pulled early in the game for Cesaro. And Steven Szott came into this game. He threw for 221 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown went to the other rookie, Cortez Boger, who now has 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He had a team-leading 4 receptions and 65 yards, so he's really kind of picked it up in the last couple games. And basically since the bye week, he's really shown that he wants to be a dominant force on this team. And even though 65 yards may not be dominant for some other teams in the MBL, 65 yards and beating out Braxton Miller is a big thing for a rookie on this New England Patriots team. So with 7 sacks and 2 forced fumbles, the Patriots defense holds on at the end to win 27-24 in Jacksonville. And as I said, Steven Szott had an excellent game this week. He didn't throw any interceptions. He protected the football and really helped the team move methodically down the field. And on defense, Jamie Collins led the team as far as player of the game goes. He had 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and he also picked up the other fumble and ran it in for a score. So he really helped the defense kind of solidify there at the end of the game and help hold on to the win. For the 7th game of the season, we take on the New York Jets for the second and final time of the year. If you remember, the Jets beat us in Week 1, so we're looking to come back strong against this team. It's a team that kind of has had our number in the last 4 or 5 or 6 games we've played against them, so we're definitely going to be looking to change that up a little bit and try to get a win against them here in Week 7. You could just tell from the beginning of this game that the Jets really felt like they had our number when they came in and really weren't going to stop regardless of how many points they scored, especially in the first half. They took a 17-0 lead in the beginning of the game. Up until halftime, they were winning 17-0. So it's really it was ugly, for lack of a better way to put it. But the big thing is that Steven Szott went into the locker room at halftime, and he brought the whole offense over to him, and he said, "Look, guys, we have to move the ball. We have to help our defense. If we're giving them short field, we're going to lose this game regardless of if we scored 30 points. We're still going to lose." So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily the best speech. It wasn't necessarily the most motivational thing, but he's a rookie and he's still learning. And the big thing is that he took ownership and he said, we have to do this as the offense. We have to lead the team. And that's exactly what the team done in the second half. The offense picked it up, and we ended up scoring 24 points in the second half, 3 touchdowns by Szott. He threw 1 to Cortez Boger and 2 to Braxton Miller. So he really spread the ball around and helped the offense move and make a huge comeback, while the defense stepped up as well with the better field position that they had after halftime. And because of his determination and lack of giving up in this game, Steven Szott did get the offensive player of the game with his 3 touchdowns, while Cravens got his second player of the game for the defensive side of the ball. But here's what Braxton Miller had to say.
To make a couple of plays, what does that mean to you? Contribute so highly in a win like this?
It's great, man. Our coaches believe in me, brothers believe in me. Just keep improving from here.
Turn that on.
How about that move, the spin move and to get in, and you just looked like you were having a ball out there, looking to make up for lost time.
Making up for lost time, you can call that, man. Just being blessed, man. I can enjoy what I love, and I think of my brothers in here.
It's really good to see Braxton Miller in such a happy mood following a win. It probably came a little bit from the fact that they came back in that game, but it also probably came from the fact that he's seeing the ball a little more, a little easier targets now that Cortez Boger has stepped up to the plate as the number 2 receiver. And I mean, he may not know it, but he really needs to watch out. Boger has shown himself so far this season, shown what he can do this season, and Miller's production, while it's higher than it was last year, isn't quite what Boger's has been so far on the season. He hasn't been able to find the end zone as many times. But that's just another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on as the season goes along here. In the Week 8 game, though, we go against the Buffalo Bills for the second time in the year, and they're coming in at 4-2, while we're coming in at 3-2-1. And a win in this game would give us the division lead over the Bills and over the Jets, who are 2 teams that have won it in the past 3 or 4 years. So it's a must-win game for us, regardless of how the rest of the season plays out. Even for our own mentality, it's a must-win game. So one of the things that we didn't get to touch on when we played the Bills the first time this season was the rookie quarterback Dustin Ely. He didn't play in the last game, so I didn't really mention it, but they picked him very early in the draft. They picked him number 4 overall, which was right behind Szott, and many people believe that the Bills reached with this pick. Yeah, they picked up a good halfback also in the first round, but there was much better talent in the first round than Dustin Ely, and he came into this game and he kind of proved the critics right on this one. He came in, he threw 4 interceptions. He lost the lead. They had a lead in the beginning of the game, and he wasn't quite able to hold on to it. But at the same time, that was partially his rookie play and partially our defense knowing that this guy's a rookie and he's going to make mistakes. So let's go out there and let's show him some things that he hasn't seen in his few starts so far in the MBL. And even though he did throw for 238 yards, completing 21 of his 35 attempts, he did throw the 4 interceptions, and ultimately that was the difference in the game. He threw the 4 interceptions, 2 of them were returned for touchdowns. And even with the 3 interception game by Steven Szott, the Patriots were able to win the game 21-17, taking control of the AFC East. And once again, the rookie wide receiver Cortez Boger takes away the Offensive Player of the Game award with 5 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown, while Malcolm Butler takes the Defensive Player of the Game award with his 1 interception coming on the Bills' final drive to seal the game. But that's going to do it for episode number 15 of Building the Franchise with the New England Patriots. Please let me know down in the comments anything new or anything else that you want to see, and also what you think about the couple new graphics that we have on the show here. And also, just so you know, moving forward, we're going to be looking for a little more structured scheduling with the episodes. We're going to look to do weeks 1 through 8 for the first episode each season, the second episode being weeks 9 through 17, and the third episode being the off season through the following preseason. So that should give it a little more consistency for everyone, and it won't be as sporadic as far as how many weeks of the season are in each episode, and should get them out in a little more timely manner. So as always, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the like button on this video. And thank you for tuning in to the MBL Network, the leaders in full immersion gaming.